Welcome, everyone. This is Kit Nordmark, along with my colleague, Matt Kleffner. We're here today to share the results of our 2022 Marketing Research and Consumer Insights Salary Study. If you aren't familiar with Burtch, we're an executive recruiting firm specializing in the fields of marketing research, data science, analytics, and data engineering. We've been recognized by Forbes as one of America's best recruiting firms for 5 years running, and Burtchworks insights have been repeatedly mentioned in the press, including The Economist, New York Times, The Wall Street Journal, and more. I've been a recruiter here for over 7 years now and lead our Research and Insights division. Before joining Burtchworks, I spent a number of years working in the marketing research industry as a hands-on researcher, most recently on the supplier side at Kantar. And thanks to Matt Kleffner for joining me today. He was also a researcher prior to Burtchworks and spent over 10 years at Ipsos. He's a quantitative expert and has extensive experience in healthcare and public sector research.
Thanks, Kit, and glad to be here. And thanks for everyone joining us for the overview of our 10th annual salary study. Burtchworks has been putting together salary reports for our main specialty areas for a decade now, and we're sharing the highlights today, but be sure to download the full report to get more details. We collect our data through interviews instead of online surveys, so a big thank you to those who we have spoken with over the past year and for trusting Burtchworks so we can share these reports with the community for free. This year's Research and Insights Salary Report has a sample of over 520 researchers. The full report has over 30 pages of compensation, demographic data, hiring market analysis, trends, and more. And if you haven't already, be sure to download the full report at burtchworks.com/study for more insights.
Thanks, Matt. We talk to researchers day in and day out and keep a pulse on the industry as a whole so we can serve as a broader resource for professionals in the field. And since we both come from the industry, we're able to bring a unique perspective. Here's a quick glance at what we'll be covering today. We'll walk through some trends we've seen in the marketing research and insights field, the hiring market climate, demographic comparisons, and of course, this year's salary data. I'll hand it back to Matt so we can jump in.
Thanks, Kit. And after a tumultuous 2020, we've started to see economic recovery in 2021, and that momentum continued into 2022. This past year was really a standout year for the market research and insights field. This year's data was collected from October 2021 through September 2022, and we're happy to report that we found that salaries for market researchers and insights professionals remain competitive, with mean salaries increasing at all levels and on both the supplier and the client side. Early career researchers on the supplier side and mid-level researchers on the client side saw the highest jumps in compensation. While market volatility in 2020 impacted research and insights hiring, we started to see things turn around in early 2021, and we are pleased that that rebound continued at a strong pace over the past year. In today's marketplace, understanding shifts in consumer behavior is more important than ever. So researchers on both the supplier side and the client side have been very busy. We've seen robust hiring across the board as teams work to keep up with demand for insights.
Given the extremely active hiring market and movement among research and insights professionals in the past year, we decided to reach out to our network to gauge perspective and overall sentiment when it comes to making a transition. We conducted a survey in September 2022 that found that 46% of the sample reported a job change in the past year. That's pretty remarkable, and it aligns with what Matt and I have seen over the past year, just with massive turnover and people making movements in the market. We also asked about current job search activity, and while 48% were happy in their current role, 52% of our sample reported that they were currently looking or at least open to exploring the market. We then wanted to get a sense for priorities when it comes to a job search and found that when considering a new opportunity, factors lending to flexibility were key for many job seekers. Looking for a role that's 100% remote is top of mind for 1 in 4 researchers. Job security was also a factor for 21% of the sample when considering something new, but followed by work from home flexibility and work-life balance. since the pandemic, what we've all experienced in the past few years of just life that we've gone through, we're starting to see people place a higher importance on some of these aspects and really prioritize personal time in a world where we're constantly connected. When it comes to industries and the importance of working in a particular sector, 31% reported being open to industry, while 26% prefer to work across categories. While it can be great to hone in and build expertise in a specific industry, we often recommend diversifying your background a bit to A, show that you can be nimble and leverage your toolkit in different ways to address business needs that may vary industry to industry, and B, help safeguard against potential market downturns that may impact a certain sector more than others. Thinking specifically about a certain role or opportunity, 43% of the sample considered career growth and a roadmap for future development to be a primary requirement in a new position. Being able to work and collaborate with a team is also important to many, while some look for leadership opportunities or roles that help them remain hands-on with the work. Interestingly, 26% reported a desire to work in a category that they're passionate about or to work for a company or product that aligns with their personal values. And this is something else that Matt and I have been starting to hear more and more about too since the pandemic. Researchers are really wanting their work to coincide with personal motivations or something that they're passionate about versus just wanting to climb that corporate ladder. That's a look at current sentiment. Matt's going to take a look at how we got here.
Looking back over the past couple of years, the research and insights field has continued to see a shifting hiring market. The initial response to the pandemic in 2020 led to professionals pausing their job searches, while many companies experienced layoffs, furloughs, or even put hiring plans on hold. In 2021, we saw an influx of research teams looking to hire, both backfilling vacancies as well as expanding teams to keep up with an increased project load. As the market stabilized, many professionals resumed their job searches while other professionals took the opportunity to start and kick off a new job hunt. This massive turnover in the labor market was dubbed as the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle. Now bringing us to 2022, with so many professionals starting in a new role within the past year, a perfect storm was created and the number of job openings outnumbered the number of available candidates, leading to one of the most competitive hiring markets we've seen in years. During this time, researchers who were open to new opportunities found more negotiation power when it came to salary targets and flexibility in remote or hybrid work. Many were also receiving multiple offers when making career decisions.
Given today's competitive market, it's key for companies hiring research and insights professionals to optimize their interview process and provide the best experience to help stand out among candidates exploring multiple opportunities. We put our heads together, and here are a few different things to think about if you're hiring in the field. Make sure you provide clear communication and transparency across the interview process that can help set expectations from the get-go. Provide specifics such as the role's responsibilities, day-to-day workflow, team dynamics, the tools you'll be using. This can help researchers evaluate the position and potential fit along the way. From our recent partnerships, we've seen the most successful ways to maintain engagement are to provide a well-organized and timely interview schedule, clearly defined steps so the candidates will know when they may expect to speak with a hiring manager or when they need to prepare for an assessment or presentation. And then quick turnaround for feedback is best. So if possible, and I know it isn't always possible, but getting back to people in a fairly timely manner versus leaving them hanging for a few weeks can be good just to help maintain that engagement along the way. And then lastly, providing details around the company's benefits and a roadmap for growth potential, as we saw in our flash survey, setting that up in advance and prior to an offer can help candidates feel more prepared when it's time to make a decision. So that was a look at some of the themes we've been tracking over the past year. Now onto the data.
Thanks, Kit. Let's first take a look at this year's demographics. Professionals with a bachelor's degree as the highest education remain common in the research and insights field, along with 57% of professionals holding an advanced degree. MBAs are the most popular among the master's degree holders, though 19% of this year's sample holds a Master's of Marketing Research, also known as an MMR. As we look at the data each year, we go through and designate each professional as either a supplier-side or a client-side researcher based on their current position. Supplier-side firms or agencies are teams commissioned to lead research on behalf of other organizations. Companies include JFK, Kantar, Ipsos, or Nielsen, and they range from small boutique consultancies to large global organizations. Client-side researchers are those who are in-house at companies like PepsiCo, Nike, or McDonald's. And these teams leverage research to inform strategy across the organization. Teams can vary from lean groups of like 1 to 5 researchers or large teams that might have 50 or even 100 people. And this year's sample was nearly a 50-50 split. Taking a look at client-side industries, you'll see we spoke with researchers from a wide range of categories. Companies within the CPG category have historically housed some of the largest and most robust insights teams. Among client-side researchers, this year's sample continues to skew towards consumer packaged goods, followed by tech and retail.
Regarding gender breakouts, in this year's data set, our sample was 60.8% women and men made up 39.2%. In contrast to other fields that Burtch covers, like data science or data engineering, women usually only make up about a quarter or less of samples in those categories. So marketing researchers, by comparison, leans much more female. The average marketing researcher has 12.8 years of experience under their belt, and over 50% of researchers are within the first 10 years of their career. This is fairly typical for us to see in the marketing research field. Many love to stay close to the consumer as they grow along in their career, but also some tend to pivot towards adjacent areas such as marketing or brand management.
So that's a look at the demographics of this year's sample. Let's jump into the salaries. We already mentioned the difference between supplier-side and client-side researchers. Now let's take a quick look at how we categorize each of our sample for the most accurate analysis. On the supplier side, we segment researchers primarily based on years of experience. Titles tend to not match up from one firm to the next, so years of experience is our best guide here. To give you an idea of titles, we've provided some examples on the left. On the right, you'll see client-side categories, and here we segment by title, experience level, and often if someone manages others or even a full team. There are 5 segments ranging from analysts or senior analysts with just a few years of experience and all the way up to senior directors and VPs on the senior end. We'll use these categories to walk through the data on the next few slides.
Here's this year's Research and Insight summary chart showing the mean base salaries at all job levels that we analyzed. You'll see the client side at the top in the light blue and supplier side salaries shown at the bottom in dark blue. Level 1 client side professionals, which equates roughly to analysts or senior analysts, they earn a base of nearly $86,000 annually. Client-side researchers at level 3, who are around that senior manager level, are just over $145,000 a year. And at level 5, the executive level on the client side, the mean base salary is just over $230,000 a year. Now taking a look at the bottom section of the chart, early career researchers on the supplier side earn a mean salary of $73,000 per year. And then they move up to about $98,000 for those in the 5 to 9 years of experience range. In S4, which covers the most senior supplier side researchers, they earn a mean salary of $188,000 annually. Now we'll take a look at how these salaries compare to last year's. First, on the supplier side of things, you'll see 2022 salaries in the light blue, and alongside that in dark blue, you'll see last year's range. Compared to our 2021 report, supplier-side researchers at all levels saw an increase this year, with level 1 seeing the greatest jump with an almost 7% bump. Matt and I saw the highest demand for hiring supplier-side researchers at this level, so it kind of makes sense that salaries bumped up a bit. And here's a peek at client-side by comparison. With 2022 mean salaries in the light blue and last year's figures in the dark blue, For client-side researchers, mean base salaries also increased at all levels, with the greatest increase at client-side level 2. This also mirrors what Matt and I saw just with hiring last year. There was a large influx in demand for client-side researchers, especially at that associate manager, maybe even senior manager level. So this really aligns with some of the bumps that we saw in the past year. Thinking about these mid-career professionals, Matt's going to walk us through some regional differences that we saw.
For supplier-side researchers at level 3, mean base salaries were the highest on the West Coast, followed closely by cohorts in the mountain region. For client-side researchers at level 3, mean base salaries were the highest in the West. Usually, this is probably because of the high-paying tech companies, which are headquartered in tech-centric metro areas like Seattle and the Bay Area.
Thanks, Matt, and you're right. We do tend to see higher salaries on the coast, especially in major metro areas, but generally not enough to make up for that higher cost of living. So it's really a toss-up. Now that we've covered a number of trends we've been watching over the past year, let's look ahead. So after 18 months of navigating probably the hottest hiring market we've seen in years, we've noticed that the last month or so that things have started to temper a bit as we approach the end of 2022. It's definitely still a healthy job market out there, and there are still a number of openings on both client and supplier side of things, but it doesn't seem to be quite as active as it was early in the year. With talks of the recession, and in general, Q4 can tend to be a time for teams to really hunker down and finish up the year's work. And also, some teams tend to put hiring off until next year when next year's budgets are released. As we move away from the Great Resignation timeframe, we anticipate we'll enter a more normal hiring market with better alignment between researchers and the hiring demand in the field. So we'll see what next year holds. And of course, Matt and I will be here to track everything along the way.
Well, that's it for today. But if you're interested in taking a closer look or want even more detail, download our full study at burtchworks.com/study. And of course, if you're looking to add to your market research or consumer insight staff, we'd be happy to speak with you and do some brainstorming about what you have planned in terms of hiring over the next quarter or any point in the new year. We offer contingency and retained services for permanent placement, as well as contract staffing, and we cover researchers from analyst level all the way up to executives. Reach out at any point if you'd like to chat. You can find us at info@burtchworks.com.
And throughout the year, be sure to check out burtchworks.com/blog, where we post hiring market trends and other information specifically related to marketing research and consumer insights, including career tips, other trends, and anything that might come up throughout the year. You can also follow Burtchworks across our social media channels and stay up to date on our latest research, and find our previous videos at youtube.com/Burtchworks. Thanks so much for joining us today.